Hello, world. This is basically addressed to my friends in the UK, Greenland, Canada, Denmark, Germany, the free Western world, the sane, the remaining countries that are still sane and having to suffer under the yoke of Donald Bump, Hump, Clump. I can't remember his last name. Chump, Frump, Bump, Dump. I can't remember. Anyways, that guy, the orange guy. I sympathize with you. I do. Tried to warn people. I tried to warn my friends, neighbors, people I come across. Really, vehemently. Strangers, I'd say. I'd tell them. It was exhausting, and thanks to them, it's even more exhausting. Hold on one second. Now that background music is jazz. That's played by a Far Eastern, I'm trying to avoid, because I grew up in the mid to late 20th century, and my family, they weren't racist, but they used terms that would be verboten today. Anyways, Ju Yoon Ha. Now you can derive from that what you will. Probably South Korean, I'm thinking. Maybe Vietnamese, not sure. But anyways, the important thing is that's jazz. They're playing jazz. So do keep in mind, we did give the world one very, very, very good thing. And try to forgive us. Think of that and try to forgive people like us who are, I wouldn't say a complete majority, but the intellectuals are a vanishing breed. But anyways, do think of us over here that have to deal with this crap. And remember that we did give you guys jazz and rock and roll, and and it turned into heavy metal, and that's my favorite, of course. But I know you gave the world Mozart and Bach and Paganini and Scriabin. Love them guys. You guys wonderful. But we're all one people, aren't we? Really? I mean, racism is ridiculous because we're all one race. It's the human race. We all came from Africa. That's the reality of it. Don't tell the superstitious nuts about that stuff. They think that Jesus was white. Thank you, Renaissance painters. Anyways, so just remember that we did give you guys jazz, and of course it wasn't the white people that gave it to you. It was, yeah. Okay, here we go. Our former slaves, they gave us the blues, and that turned into rock and roll. And of course, bands like Led Zeppelin had to be inspired by it. Let's say that, shall we? Indeed. So just, there was some good things came out of America. A few, right? And just try to remember us for that. The arts, I think in general, the one positive thing that the human race has done in its entire history of civilization. Before that, we were fine. I think we should have remained Neolithic, right? You had the Paleolithic and the Neolithic. The Native Americans were Neolithic. They had a little bit of agriculture, but wasn't really developed. They didn't need to. Why? They lived on nature's terms and with nature and revered nature. And they were matriarchal and largely democratic. So, yeah. Men shouldn't be in power, I think, is what the lesson from this is. I think the lesson of the past 10,000 years, with all the slavery and empires and subjugation and exploitation and manipulation and religious dominance over people's minds, and the Spanish Inquisition, yeah, you can't forget that, and the witch hunts, the witch trials, they were great. Not really. So I think the one lesson to be learned from all that is, I'm not anti-man, so don't you fucking people out there in MAGA land start to send those nasty comments. I see you typing right now. So don't, please, because I'm not anti-man. I'm not anti-male. But it's just the more appropriate for women to be, in charge. Matriarchy is what we really have needed for so very, very, very long. Because of the slavery thing, it's all men and the ego and the greed and the power. And there was a Supreme Court Justice, Sandra Day O'Connor, back in the 80s. She was a Republican, But she was not a Supreme Court justice. I think she was a judge near the top. Whatever. I'm not going to take the time to look it up right now. You can do that. Sandra Day O'Connor. She said that every man would be a tyrant if they could, and some more so than others. And obviously, we have one now. So please remember jazz and rock and roll, and we've really gave a lot. I mean, Led Zeppelin wouldn't exist without the American black man. You know, the African Americans. The situation that we had created, the white people created, had, you know, it's a synergistic thing. I'm not excusing it. Please save comments. Anyway, so I just wanted to say, world, please, I sympathize with you. I wish I'm going to try to get out of here and move to Bhutan. Bhutan is the place because they respect nature, and they don't go by gross domestic product. They go by gross happiness product, right? But I saw a thing about them in their new cities that they're going to be built, and an elephant crossing the stream, and I'm going to offer my help just to help them do that, because I don't want any part of this rat race anymore, because that's what it really is. It's just a fucking rat race to the bottom. You know, you try harder and harder, and you still can't get ahead. You got all these gig jobs, and they extract from you, and they, you know, it's just awful. It's awful. Feudalism is kind of a bitch, isn't it? Anyways, so that's all my thoughts for right now. I think I had an original point that I never got to. Doesn't matter. Some points were made. And thanks for watching. Cheers. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell the postal worker, and everybody that you encounter to subscribe to my channel, please, because it is interesting content, and it's unedited and very unprofessionally made. And I think that's refreshing in this time of glitter and AI slop and, you know, perfect editing, cutting out the uhs. Everybody says It kind of sounds unnatural when you don't hear somebody say at all. Ever. You'll hear me say In fact, one of my last shorts was, I said Greenland. Anyways, cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.